This is the rest of my 82-hour trip to Banff, Alberta, where I did even more insane sunrise hikes and some huge winter hikes, as well as getting the best sunrise I've ever seen on a mountain. Let's go. After a crazy day in Lake Louise the day before, I woke up at 4:30 a.m. to go and summit Grotto Mountain. I took the bus all the way to the trailhead as close as I could get, and then basically I had to go through some of the Nordic trails. It did add about an extra kilometer to the trail, but it was definitely a little bit scary walking through the forest alone at this hour of the night. But of course you have to step out of your comfort zone if you want to do this, so I kept going. And I did not encounter any bears. While I kept hiking up during this incredible sunrise, I was getting awesome viewpoints all the way throughout, and this was actually a pretty big trail, bigger than I was expecting, so I did not make it to the summit before sunrise. I feel like that would have taken way too long, but beautiful views nonetheless. At this point, I started making it almost all the way up to the ridge, and the views were definitely really awesome. I was a little bit worried about the clouds because it looked like there was a snowstorm in the horizon. Honestly, though, the winds were pretty crazy up here. I'd say they were at least 60 kilometers an hour because I was being blown over everywhere. Like you could see on my jacket and everything. It looked really bad, but I'm glad that I made it up, and it was really awesome to get a good view. Because of how windy it was, I actually did not eat on the summit. I just went down a little bit until I found a good spot where there wasn't so much wind. Also, because I wanted to get down before it potentially snowed, although it never ended up snowing, but I had a nice view for lunch. Traversed that whole ridge over there, went up to that peak, which is Grotto Mountain, came down scrambling basically. Gonna head down there. Hard route, but not really hard, just scrambling. After this, I knew I was going to go for a hike with a friend on Instagram for a sunrise hike, so I just ended up walking around the town of Banff because I didn't want to go back to the Airbnb right away, and I did get some nice sunset shots here. This was a really cool trail right by Cave and Basin, and it had some really awesome views actually. Pretty flat, short trail, and it was awesome. The next morning, we woke up at about 6 a.m. and we went up to do Grassi Knob, which is a pretty short trail, although it was way steeper than expected. It was a little bit icy, but we had crampons, thankfully, so everything was good. Definitely a great trail, and we made it just in time for sunrise. To get up, it was about 3 kilometers and 800 meters gained, so it didn't really take too long, about an hour, just grinding up, and we made it though. Beautiful views of the Three Sisters, and it was definitely a great open view of the whole valley. And finally, when we head down, I found out that this was actually a river that was frozen. I thought it was just like something else. I didn't realize when it was so dark when we were going. And then we saw a cool bird. I went to hike on the Hoodoos Trail in Canmore, and it definitely had really nice views. You could see all the controlled burns they were doing, but I figured I'd just go for this little walk right before my bus at 2 p.m.